Going for boost over. Well, I think going for boost if you're a boost merchant, like someone like AJ or someone, you go for boost.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Always, every second of every game. Ball's going in your net, don't worry about it. Go get the boost and make sure you've got the full 100 to celebrate with the other team.
Boost over ball is a good time when your opponent is dribbling towards your own corner and you know it has no threat to go into your net at all, and your teammate is behind you for sure. If all of those align, it's better to just take your corner boost, let him just dribble into the wall for useless, and force him to go back with 0. That would be a better time to take boost over ball.
If you've ever wondered when the best time to go boost over ball is, you've come to the right place.
Boop, 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 boop. Brain is loading. Hold on. Give me a sec. I'm buffering. It's been a while since we've had one of these episodes. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. We're happy to be back in RLCS event time. I don't know. I lost the word. My brain's still buffering. So anyway, we got pro games going on again. We got some Rocket League to watch. We have some exciting stuff to talk about. I mean, we don't have to lean heavily on really exciting, even cooler people than us. Now we actually can talk about people who play the game way better than us. So welcome back. Just so you know, we are still planning on conducting more interviews and getting some of the folks that are from within the pro community, so you guys can hear from them and see some of the background on how all that works. And we'll release those most likely after this split, since usually while these RLCS things are going on, we're pretty busy keeping track of everything that's happening. With that, I'll leave the rest of this intro to Kyle, because I have used up all my brain power.
That being said, we really appreciate all your support that we've gotten, and your retweets and likes and interactions on Twitter. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter, join our Discord. We love hearing from you guys. Your support means so much to us, and that's the reason that we do this, as well as we really enjoy bringing you guys the information. So thank you again, and we will jump right into it. The first thing, a little bit less RLCS related, but I know a lot of you may have heard about it on Twitter, but Women's Carball has officially paused all of their operations and tournaments for the near future until they can find additional financial backing or bring in new sponsors. Basically, they're looking for additional funding so that they can continue to bring the high quality content that they have and be able to get some of the top tier casters and talent necessary to bring everyone the best product possible. I believe right now the options of that are for Kansas City Pioneers to sell the rights to the tournament, and whatever organization will pick that up will also pick up the $60,000 in debt that Kansas City Pioneers is in this kind of realm, because the people who work for Women's Carball, as well as all of the people that have done casting and player prize pools and things like that, have not been paid out. They are about $60,000 behind, as I said before. So hopefully, we can see a resolution to that sooner rather than later, so that these women continue to have a community and a place to kind of call their own and to compete in.
Absolutely. And what they're doing over there is incredibly important. So if you have the means and you have the interest, then please reach out, give them the support they need, give these ladies a nice, safe place to play this game we all love and compete and get better than all of us without all the nonsense.
Exactly. But moving back towards our RLCS content, now that we're finally back with the winner split, they've gone ahead and changed the format from the fall, where we saw the Swiss stage format in the fall. We've now gone back to a previous style and are going back to the group play.
You know what I love about that? I love it when I really enjoy something and then they take it away from me and make it worse. But can you tell me how they've made it worse?
So they've moved into doing 4 groups of 4 teams apiece, and each team will play every other team in their group for a total of 3 matches. And at the end of all of the group stage matches, the team in first place in the group will advance directly to round 2, the quarterfinals. The teams that place second and third in their group will move on to round 1. And the team that finishes last in their group are eliminated entirely. So it's you still play at a minimum of 3 games, but there are no opportunities to maybe regain if you have 1 or 2 bad series towards the beginning. Everything happens in one day now. So, that being said, on the current format for the weekend for them is on Friday, all of the group matches and all of the round 1 playoff matches are conducted for a total of 28 series total throughout the day. On Saturday, the round 2 playoff matches happen, which are 4 series. And then on Sunday, it's the semifinals and the finals. And that's 3 total series. There's no bracket reset. There's no opportunities for kind of tripping up. It's single elimination once you reach the playoffs. And that's that.
I don't like it. I just don't. I don't like it. I don't like it. Nope. Go back to Swiss. Go back to the kind of like self-healing style where the worse you do, the worse the teams that you play against, and eventually, it kind of just like you can come back. This whole group thing is so hit or miss because like if you just get in a group with somebody that just has your number, you're kind of, SOL. So I don't like it. I also don't like 28 series in one day than 2 less populated days because I only watched a little bit of the games this weekend. I'll fully admit that I did not watch as much RLCS as I wanted to. But what I saw was they had multiple like windows going at the same time on the stream because it had so much going on. They were watching like 2 games at once. I didn't like it. Not at all. Did you watch any of the stream?
I did. I mean, that's kind of really the only way that they're ever going to be able to, like, even with the Swiss, right? Like, it's still so many matches that they're going to play. But I feel like they can, like, have just, like, 1 or 2 streams to, like, kind of capture them all. But it is certainly a lot of games going on at the same time. And, like, it seems to me like in this format for, like, I'll use EU as an example because that's what we're going to focus on here today. But in Group B, Moist, Williams Resolve, and Solary all finished 1 and 2 in the group, and Moist advanced on game differential. So did Williams Resolve. So it kind of like gives a like that's the tiebreaker is game differential, and that's what it was for the Swiss too. But I mean, game differential decided who advanced and who didn't, and not wins. Like in the Swiss format, if you lose 3 games, you're out. If you win 3 games, you advance. Eventually, everyone's either going to lose 3 or win 3. There isn't any, like, that's just how it works. So I thought that was a better format personally for, like, parity. Because, I mean, 1 bad game can slip away from you in a series. But, the difference between winning 4-0 and winning 4-2 is really, really big in this format.
Yeah, and I'm looking across all of these groups. You have Group B, you have 3 different teams that went 1 and 2. So G1 went 3-0. And so those 3 other teams were game differential. Then you look in Group C, and the top 3 teams were all 2 and 1 because Tundra went 0 and 3. So again, it's game differential. And then Group D, top 3 teams 2 and 1 because Guild Esports went 0 and 3. So it's game differential. So the name of this format is games. Win every single game because every single game matters. And I mean, I guess I understand that, but like I don't like having to go to a tiebreaker more often than there just being a decided winner.
I
It
would
doesn't seem like efficiency to me at all.
I would tend to agree with you. I mean, like, I think that you could. I mean, if you want to continue on with this kind of format, I think that maybe including some kind of like playoff. I mean, it's kind of, you're adding too many matches, I guess, to like, if you had like in Group D, like the German Amigos playing BDS to kind of decide who gets that second or third seed, because like if you look at it, right, like so that in my opinion, it's a pretty big difference. But the difference between second and third seed is the German Amigos playing Williams Resolve or playing Moist. And I mean, Williams Resolve did a great job of making the tournament. They did well to end last split, but I personally think that Moist is just better than Williams Resolve. That, I mean, it's just in my humble opinion, even though they they beat them 3-0. So I mean, it's like the game differential is going to decide who you play. And then also there's like a good amount of randomness and luck associated with each group, right? So like they randomly drew the teams that are there into their groups. And, you know, I think that quite frankly, G1 had an easier group maybe than Group D. BDS, while they haven't been performing very well recently, they're still a damn good team. German Amigos played very well. Oxygen's a great team. Guild has been able to take matches off of BDS and some of the other big teams, so it certainly is going to lend itself to a little bit of luck as well, and I don't really like to see that as much.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. Boo, bring back the Swiss. I liked it easier. It was way easier just to take a quick look at and understand exactly what happened. There seemed to be a lot less luck in it, and any system that relies on a tiebreaker as the rule instead of the exception is bad, in my opinion. Obviously, it's in my opinion because I said it. I hate that phrase. Don't let me say that again.
Oh,
you know what? Every time I say it, just edit me out for the rest of the episode from now on.
Fair. Okay.
Anywho, but that's enough carrying on and whining about the new format. Let's let's move on to what actually happened. We're gonna start here with EU. The EU group stage went, I would say, as expected in a lot of ways. You have G1 in Group B going 3-0. You have Team Vitality in Group A going 3-0. A little less expected considering they were up against Carmine Corp in that group. But overall, the groups went fairly well. The issue with these groups is that it seemed like there were these, I don't know what you would call them, but like just the lower end of the pro team spectrum, the like SA and Tundra Esports and Guild Esports, they all go 0-3. In Swiss, you would see them going 0-9 or something like that. You know, they would just be out, right? And here, because they're in these groups, it makes everybody else go 2-1. And it just, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going back to whining about the new format, so I'm going to hand this off to you. Please tell us more about what happened in EU.
And so, as Ace said, Vitality, G1, Team Liquid, and Oxygen top their group. We see Oxygen looking very, very good after they picked up Rise and dropped Oli. Moist able to squeak through on game differential in their group after picking up Juicy to replace Rise. But, I mean, kind of the same thing that we've been seeing. Carmine Corp continues to look good after losing to Vitality in the third round in Game 5. But Williams Resolve continues their fine form coming off of the end of last split and making the playoffs. Vertigo is a new team that we have not seen before, so good to see them making a play for the playoffs. Team Quadrant also making their playoff appearance. And then another new team, the German Amigos of Cataclysm, Ivan, and Tox, coached by Verge. A lot of people may know Verge's name. But they looked very good throughout the tournament, and BDS, continuing to perform just well enough to get into playoffs, but not well enough to do anything else. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But I think that the biggest talking point from the group stage has to be Team Vitality. They did not make any roster changes. They continue on with their Alpha 54, Radisson and Sazin, coached by Farah. I think that they certainly maybe it looked to have turned a corner. They looked fantastic throughout the group stage, dropping 2 matches, and the only 2 matches that they dropped were to Carmine Corp, who are, a fantastic team. So I can't say enough good things about Vitality from the group stage. G1 continues to look good. Marked by 8, Atomic and Dorito. They looked fantastic again, dropping only 2 matches, 1 to Moist and 1 to Solary. So, they looked fantastic also. Oxygen are able to top their group by goal differential. I actually think that it goes down to the games won in terms of their game differential, and that's the tiebreaker for them. But, certainly they look to continue to try and gel as a team and build that team chemistry after picking up Rise. But I think the biggest surprises for me, at least, are the German Amigos doing as well as they did. They looked great, and that Carmine Corp did not top their group. But maybe that's less to say about Carmine Corp and more to say about Vitality. What did you think? What were your biggest takeaways from the group stage?
So, one thing that actually my brain is a little bit stuck on, and I'm hoping you can explain it to me because I don't understand this new format quite right. How does Auction Esports in Group D? So that's the one with 3 2-1s with Guild Esports going 0-3, and you have an 8-6, 7-5, 7-6 game win losses for the top 3. But how does Auction Esports have an 8-6 and TBDS have a 7-6? Auction Esports got an extra game in there somewhere. Do you know how that occurred?
So they went to game 5 with Guild. So that's 5 matches there. They went to game 5 with BDS. That's another 5. And they went to game 4 with German Amigos. So they're able to rack up more games because they played more games.
No. That's all I can say about it. Just no. Wait, just because they went to longer rounds than the other teams in their bracket, they got to take the first spot?
It is the number of wins. So, for this format, it makes sense to me, right? So, though, even if they weren't winning, they were still making it close, right? So, BDS taking them to game 5, they were able to win 2 games off of BDS, whereas, let's say, for instance, when Guild played BDS, they were only able to win 1 match. So it looks better for Oxygen because they were able to win more games throughout their group stage.
I get it. Okay, never mind. My brain was malfunctioning, and now we're all set. I understand it now.
It's certainly more confusing than the Swiss, but...
But anyway, as far as your question, what surprised me, what stood out? 1, happy to see G1. Thank you, Cat Jeans, for joining us last week or 2 weeks ago, or time is irrelevant, doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you for joining us, and I'm glad to see G1 kicking butt. I am still struggling to understand the new format, so it's a little hard for me because you have G1 doing 3-0, and then because they went 3-0, everybody else goes 1-2, so it becomes really hard to see just at a glance how these other teams did. For me, Moist Esports, they're always a good team to bet on, right? As far as they're gonna make it, they're gonna go pretty far. They haven't really let us down. I'm excited to see that they, at least made it. Well, we're not talking playoffs yet, so I'll leave it at that. But Team Vitality was a bit of a surprise for me. They didn't. I don't remember them being at the Rotterdam majors, but
you are correct. They did not.
That was a million years ago for me. So, I'm seeing some new names rising to the top, and I definitely enjoy that. It's hard to tell if the roster mania has made a big impact as far as the competitiveness of the region, because as you point out, Vitality didn't change anything, and they came out of this group looking really strong. Um, and then the teams that did have roster changes, the only one that seems to have really made a big difference, and I won't even know if it's a big difference because Oxygen was looking strong before, is, Oxygen did pretty well, and they had a roster change. But I don't know if it's due to that roster change that they look good. But by the end of this group stage, what I'm really seeing from here is Vitality killed it, G1 killed it, and Oxygen, Team Liquid, Karmine Corp, Moist Esports. I mean, we're still seeing the same names up at the top, but I'm curious to see how this plays out over the rest of this split, to see if we end up in the same place we did before the last major, where it was like 8 or 9 teams vying for those few spots.
Yeah.
So, but with that, let's move on to playoffs. So, first round playoffs, we're looking at Moist Esports versus Team BDS, and Moist takes them 3-0 and just basically sweeps BDS. The games are pretty close. We're all within 1 goal of each other, but at the end of the day, BDS didn't get a single game off of Moist. And then you have Quadrant versus Sonics, with Sonics taking it in game 5, and again, pretty close up until the last game. We're looking at about 1 goal differential until the last game, where Sonics just kind of takes over the momentum, and they go 4-0, beating Quad and moving on to quarterfinals.
And on the other side of the bracket, we got Karmine Corp just dominating Vertigo Esports. They win the first match 7-0 before 2 pretty close games, but they're able to quickly make work of Vertigo. And then German Amigos make quick work in relatively close games against Williams Resolve to advance to the quarterfinals. So in that first round, again, we see BDS doing just enough to make playoffs, but not doing enough to advance further. And I think that, if they keep this up, they're not gonna find their way into the major conversation. They missed the Rotterdam major, and if they continue to play like this, I don't know that they'll make San Diego.
World champs, am I right?
Yep. I mean, I forget who I saw it on Twitter from, but they were talking about that this may be the biggest fall off of a reigning world championship team that has ever happened in Rocket League.
Oh, we should run the numbers on that and see.
Yeah.
Or find somebody who has run the numbers and take their word for it.
Yeah. So if I can find it again on Twitter, I will definitely repost it with the Boost Over Ball Twitter account. So another reason to follow us. You'll get to see that kind of stuff. But I mean, to me, I think Sonics beating Quadrant is kind of a little bit more surprising, and then Karmine Corp and German Amigos are able to take care of business. So really BDS, it's not really surprising given what they showed us last split, but you would think that with the amount of money and time that they've spent with their team, that they should be aiming for and probably hoping for better performances than what they showed.
I'm really curious. I actually expected more of them, considering the amount of time we had between the last time we saw them and now. They've had plenty of time to practice. They have plenty of time to work on whatever it is that got in their way in the last split, and I really expected them to do better. And so the question I believe I've had before, and I have again, is did Team BDS lose their spark, or did the rest of the competitive meta leave them behind? In my mind, I think that when you're a world champion, you're going to have more eyes on you, and they're going to be a lot more analysis of your play. There's going to be people being like, okay, well, they're the best. How do we beat them? And maybe they just don't adapt to everybody else's adaptation to how they were winning. But it's really surprising to see that they are just not doing well, considering, less than 6 months ago, they were standing on that stage as winners overall.
Yeah, I mean, and Moist struggled to beat, they beat Williams Resolve pretty handily. They lost to Team Solary in 5 games, who, has not performed very well last split or this split thus far. And, then they can come in and just sweep BDS. It's surprising to me, but also a little bit, I forgot to mention this right at the beginning, but I don't think you should see a playoff series where it's a best of 5. I think if you make it to playoffs, it's got to be best of 7. I mean, I understand it's a ton of Rocket League for these guys to play because it's all in one day, but it just seems wrong to me that they're playing best of 5 series in the playoffs.
And why is that?
I imagine it's just
that
because
some
of
more?
the sheer number of games that they're going to play, right? So like in the previous Swiss format, and it's never going to be the exact same because of like the World Championship is like a longer time frame than these regional events. But I mean, it's every team is playing less number of like a fewer total games than what they would have had it been in the Swiss, unless you're eliminated in 3 matches or you're advancing in 3 matches. But the least amount of games that you could play, and then moving on to the playoffs for your potentially for your 4th series of the day, I think it should be best of 7 personally.
I am all for anything that means we get to see more Rocket League. So, yes, let's bring best 7 and Swiss back.
Yeah. But moving on to the quarterfinals, we're back to best of 7 series. Team Vitality makes quicker work of Moist, beating them 4-2. Oxygen Esports also beats Sonics 4-2.
And then on the other half of the bracket, we're looking at Carmine Corp and G1, and this is where G1's run ends because Carmine Corp takes them 4-1. Those games being pretty close. We're looking at one goal differential until about game 3. G1 does their timeout, but they don't seem to actually get the magic timeout. The timeout magic, I guess, that you see normally in these, and they just don't seem to ever recover after game 2, with Carmine Corp beating them 5-1, 5-2, 5-1. So it's pretty decidedly beating them after those first 2 games. And then we got Team Liquid and German Amigos, and German Amigos, they take Team Liquid 4-1 as well. And that brings us into the semifinals. Semifinals, top bracket, we're looking at Team Vitality and Oxygen Esports. And honestly, this would have been a series to watch because we go to game 7. Almost every single game in the series is within 1 goal. We have 3 different overtimes. This was a close match. This was a close series. And in the end, Team Vitality takes it 1 game over Oxygen.
On the bottom side of the bracket, we got Carmine Corp sweeping German Amigos, showing us that they look like the Carmine Corp from last split. It's none of the matches were too crazy. A game 4 overtime is about the closest that you're going to get to a German Amigos win. But Carmine Corp definitely looking fantastic, and it sets up a grand finals match between Team Vitality and Carmine Corp, which Carmine Corp takes 4-1. Games 2 through 5 are, go in Carmine Corp's favor after Vitality takes game 1. Again, we see a tactical timeout not really work for Vitality before game 5, but ultimately Carmine Corp, fantastic team. They look to continue their momentum that they had built from the last split. It's just, I think they just kind of overpower Vitality in the end.
And so that's our EU Winter Open. We got Carmine Corp coming out the top. They're going to get 20 RLCS points for this. Team Vitality taking 16. They got Oxygen and German. They both end up with 12. And in a moment, which Kyle's going to cut out this moment, I hope. Otherwise, I'm going to sound real weird. I'm going to pull up the standings for... This is standings for Worlds, right?
Yeah.
And next major? Do they split them? Oh, that's a good question. So is it based on your performance in a split when that makes you go to next major, or is it your performance overall, including the current split, the previous split? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I gotcha. As far as I am understanding, the total points will continue, but the individual split points will determine who make the major.
Okay, perfect.
So
good to know.
Carmine Corp finish with 66 points for the fall, and they are able to pick up 20 points from the Winter Open. So that gets added to their total points. But the Winter Major...
For Winter Split, they're looking at 20 points already.
Yes.
And it looks like just... I'm curious because I'm looking at the rankings now, and I see Winter Cup and Winter Invitational already has 3 points for a bunch of these teams. So I guess once you get to a certain place in the Open, you're automatically brought into the next 2 events.
Yeah. So
is that how that works? Okay.
The top 8 from the Winter Open are automatically brought into the Winter Cup, and like you don't have to go through the qualifiers and so on and so forth.
And the Winter Invitational looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that finishing, that makes Carmen Corp the lead for making it into Winter Major. Auction Esports and Team Vitality, German Amigos, they're all off to a pretty good start on making it to the Major. And Carmen Corp at this point, if we're talking Worlds, they would have to have an epic level of throwing to not make it to Worlds, I think, at this point. They're 26 points ahead of Moist, who's second in the region as far as overall standings.
I would tend to agree. I think that they've looked fantastic. They've looked really consistent. I think that this is also an extremely, extremely good showing for Vitality. I think that they're going to try to make their major return after missing the fall major and ultimately try to push for that world championship spot. So, you know, a 1 or 2 more results similar to what they got today, and they'll be major bound.
I'm excited to see it because I don't know much about Team Vitality because they were kind of somewhere in the middle of the pack the last time around, last split, and just their performance this time around, making it and taking it second, is absolutely fantastic. Excited to see what happens in the Cup, which is the next one, and I knew this because I have a podcast about this, and I'm not just guessing out loud.
That being said, we also had 2 other regions Winter Open going this weekend as well. So we have Asia Pacific, where James Cheese, friend of the podcast, Lachlan, Coach LBP, and his team got picked up by Elevate. So congrats to the boys on that one, and I'm sure that they're very happy to have some representation moving forward. But they unfortunately finished 3rd, 4th after losing to Detonator in the semifinals. And Detonator actually went on to win the event. So the boys will look to regain and try to take their top spot back in the next event.
Absolutely. An interesting thing about the Asia Pacific, region is that before Elevate or James Cheese was pretty dominant. They were pretty dominant completely. It was almost a 1 or 2 team region, but this event we're seeing a much different story. Just at the start of this, I mean, it's still really early to pull any real. Oh no, I lost the word. Determinations. Why not? We'll go with that one. Anyway, but what we're seeing is Detonator takes them to semifinals, but then we look at the grand final, and Detonator and Gladiators, they go head to head. They go game 7. So like we are looking at a region that has become very competitive since the last time we looked at it, and I'm excited to see it because those single team regions, they're not as exciting to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And then moving on to Sam, which, you know, we saw some of the roster changes with Kyle leaving Furia and heading over to Ninjas in Pajamas, who ended up losing in the quarterfinal, and Team Secret dropping a total of 4 matches, complete their quest to be Winter Open champions, and they continue their dominance in the region.
And even though Ninjas in Pajamas win my heart for best team name, I hope that they can figure out how to take that region back and become best in Sam. Of course, that's another that region actually has always been like a 2-team region. Before it was Furia and
Complexity.
The club, or Furia and
the club, yeah.
Yeah, Furia and the club like last season, and now it's Team Secret and Ninjas in Pajamas, which is, you know, sorry, the club. The club was a cool name, but nothing will beat Ninja in Pajamas. Ninjas in Pajamas is my favorite team for just on name alone. And also, if they have merch, I want a pajama. I want Ninja Pajamas. Please.
Fair.
Merch gods who are listening. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, but so that brings us up to next weekend, which will be North America, Oceania, and MENA. So with that being said, looking forward to really quick to the North American regional event. We have Gen G, FaZe Clan, Version 1, Space Station, G2, NRG, Complexity, Furia, Optic, Shopify, Accrue, Dignitas, M80, KOI, Pittsburgh Knights, and Team Axel are going to be competing in this event. We got some pretty evenly matched groups, in my opinion. I certainly have some thoughts on what I think will happen, but if you had to take a guess on who you think will top each group, who would you pick?
I have to disagree with you on the evenly matched portion of your commentary. I think Group A is Gen G all the way. And I honestly think Gen G is going to take first or second in this, as they've been doing each time. If I had to be forced to choose, I'll say Gen G takes it overall. But so Group A is going to be Gen G 3-0. I'm going to get real specific here. I think Group B, we're looking at probably a whole 2-1s. Everyone's going to 2-1. I think that Knights are going to go 0-3. Group C, you can never tell. Sometimes Version 1's on it, sometimes they're not. G2 also has a habit of being on or not. I think that one's going to be a very up in the air group. But if I had to take somebody to win it, I would say probably G2. Version 1 taking second. It's either going to be G2 or Version 1 taking Group C. And then Group D, that's the one I have absolutely no clue. But what I would like to see is NRG going 0-3. Just because they've been breaking my heart every time I see them play. And I want them to do better. But I'm over it. They can go 0-3. I think they're washed.
Fair.
I shouldn't say that out loud. I'm using my inside voice outside. Whoops.
But so who
Anyway,
do you have topping Group D?
Oh man, I was hoping you wouldn't ask that. You know what? I'm gonna say Space Station just because I don't know who is writing the script for these events, but I see that they put Optic and Space Station up against each other again, and that's great. But also, I think Space Station, of those four in there, I think Space Station has my favor to win that. What are your thoughts?
I am actually very similar to you. I think Gen G is going to take Group A. I'm actually going to... I'll be different. I think Furia is going to take Group B. I think the addition of Lost is really going to help them defensively, which is one of the ways that they struggled the most last split. So I think that Furia is going to top Group B. I will also take G2 to top Group C, and Space Station to top Group D.
Awesome. Do you want to try and call any of the score lines, though? Because the guy of Gen G going 3-0.
I think that you're correct in
I
that.
have Knights going 0-3.
You
You bet on the Knights before. Last split, you're all like, I love the Knights, if I remember correct. And they hurt you.
I don't think they're going to go 0-3. I think they'll 1-2. Same with Shopify. But I think that M80 in Group D will surprise a couple of people. I could see them beating NRG, and I could see them giving a series to Optic. It's going to depend. It's going to depend very heavily on which Optic team shows up. That's fair. So I mean, we've seen Optic be dominant, and we've also seen them drop some games that they probably shouldn't have. It's same with you said, like with Version 1 and G2. Like we've definitely seen Team Axel take some series, but you know, I think that I think that G2 will rebound a little bit. Their roster is just too good to continue to play as poorly as they did. And I think V1 is still V1. I think that they have a good play style. I think that they will, continue to perform at the high level that we know that they can.
Yeah, honestly, looking back through this, I think that we're going to see in Group B, C, and D, those being decided by game differential. Because I do think that all three of those, like, I know you think M80 is going to surprise people, I hope you're right. But I feel like this new format really just kind of is like, here's a bunch of top tier teams and then one person for everybody to beat up. And so I feel like A Crew, they're gonna do their best. They're gonna try their hardest, but I'm calling 0-3 for them, which makes the Group C be 2-1 across the board. So it's gonna be game differential. And M80, I don't know anything about them, so I have to give them an 0-3, and that means that again we're going to game differential. And I think we're gonna see game differential for B, C, and D.
I would agree.
think the only one that isn't gonna go 0-3 is Group A, because I think Koi has a chance against Dignitas or Complexity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we will have to wait and see on that one, but certainly I think that we both prefer the Swiss format, so I guess we'll have to wait and see with what happens with everybody in these groups, and hopefully we can have a little bit better handle on how everyone's getting through, as, hopefully everything won't come down to game differential, but I guess we will cross that bridge when we come to it.
We sure will.
But that being said, we will get a new episode up to you next week, just like normal, with our reactions to the NA, OCE, and MENA regions, with a focus on NA, and we will do a little bit of a preview for the Winter Cup for EU, OCE, or for EU, APAC, and SAM, and we will go from there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Boost Over Ball podcast. Remember to continue to follow us, rate 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts, and continue to interact with us on Twitter as we increase our quest of trying to get VIP passes for San Diego. If you're coming to San Diego, come find us. We'd be happy to take pictures with you if you are so inclined. We can't wait to meet anybody that we do meet, and we're excited to continue to bring you as high-level content as we are able to. So thank you guys so much for listening again, and remember to always choose Boost over Ball. Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast.